Welcome to Decoded Stories with the Code, where I sit down with tech professionals, creatives, and innovators to decode their stories behind their journeys. Like the ones you never get a chance to hear of. I am your host, Nyamiche Honor. What's up, bro?
Yo, what's good?
Good to have you here, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. I feel like having you on the first podcast is very much like, it's kind of cool because you're the first person who took me out to a Thai restaurant to talk about coding.
Yeah, I remember
and like
that.
I was all over the place, bro. And you were like, yo, this and this and this is what you gotta learn, and I appreciate it, man. And so having you as the first guest is like it's a dream come true, bro.
Hey, full circle, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So we're gonna get right into it, man. So we're gonna start with the segment called This or That.
Yeah.
So once I give you a this or that, just give me first thing that comes from your head.
Okay,
Cool?
Bet.
All right,
Let's do it.
So Apple or Android?
Come on. Apple.
Yes, sir. All right, night mode or light mode?
Night mode.
Okay.
Of course.
I like it. Tutorials or documentation when you're learning something new?
Ooh, it depends.
Okay.
But I would lean more towards documentation.
Why so?
That's why I said it depends. It depends what I'm learning, right? If it's something more work related and I need to know how to do a thing, then it's documentation, right?
Okay.
But if it's something where I'm just solving a problem real quick, then, little quick tutorial just to get through my little, hurdle.
That's fair. All right. I forgot. I know the answer to this, but coffee or tea?
Coffee, man.
Coffee. Yes, sir. All right, cool. So coding in the morning or coding at night?
Ooh, night smacks, bro. Coding at night? Yeah.
Why is that?
What do you mean? The house is quiet, you know what I'm saying? And you'll be able to just forget about everything else and just zone in. I got my headphones on and just
no
kids,
at it. No wife, just you computer.
Yep,
I like it. We might be a little bit similar, bro.
I mean,
you my boy. So. All right, so last one here, podcast or books for personal growth?
Books.
Okay.
Actually. So to me, I like books. I like, to have the actual physical book in my hand. I can go at the pace that I want. I can, go back and go over things. I can notate, and things like that. With podcasts too, I feel like is polarized. Like there's so many things out there now. Like what's really good, who's really the authentic, speaker on the subject.
Hopefully this is an authentic podcast going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. I like it. I feel like I'm a slow reader, which I need to get better at. So I usually do podcast because it just podcast gives it to me quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I need to start reading more.
I mean, it's really just a personal preference thing, right? So I don't think one is better than the other.
Okay.
Or you can even look at audio books as a form of podcast, right? So the same thing that you're consuming in a physical book, doing it, audio wise, right? So it all depends on,
are you reading like a book right now, or is there do you have like a favorite book that you're into right now?
I recently just finished a book called From Good to Great.
Okay.
I think that's a very good one for personal development. Literally the first sentence of the book is good is the enemy of great, right? And it says that because sometimes when we feel like we're doing good enough, we become complacent.
Okay.
Right? So how do you cross that barrier of your good into your greatness, right?
That's some high level stuff, man.
I mean, hey.
I like it. All right. Let's get right into the questions I have here for you. So first question is one I legit hate. I go to a job interview and they're like, yo, tell me about yourself. And I'm like, do you not already have my resume? Like, what more should I say? But give the people like a 2-second spiel of who Micky is. Like, who are you?
So the way I typically answer that, whether if it's, to a person in an interview like this or actual corporate, job interview, is not to really speak to my resume and accolades, right? It's really to speak to the person that I am. Who am I outside of work? Who am I outside of, what somebody may know me, right?
Okay.
So, Micky Adjaman, grew up here in the, DMV, Virginia area. I am a family man, married, to a beautiful wife, and
Hey, he married y'all. He
with
married
two
y'all.
with two young kids. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? They keep me busy. Doing the soccer dad thing. I am in the IT field, right? The financial technology, side of it. Um, and yeah, I love, all things like everybody else. Music. I love sports. I love,
Okay.
to travel, right? So that's kind of how, you know what I mean, I would answer that.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're into IT tech. Obviously, this is a lot of people know me for tech and IT,
Mhm.
right? You say you're a financial analyst. Was that
No. I said financial tech,
okay?
right?
Talk to me a
So,
bit. What is that?
so tech is so broad,
Okay.
right? That a lot of people just look at, for example, you being a coder as like that's it, building
Yeah. Yeah.
apps or building, applications that live on a website or something like that, right? But literally, technology encompasses all aspects of our lives, right? Whether if that's health tech, right, for the things that the doctor's offices use and things like that, whether it's finance tech for people like me in accounting, finance technology, banking, and things like that. So every industry of the career field or the corporate world needs technology behind it, right? So it's a matter of using tech in an area that you actually love, right? Some people love cars. Okay, go and build the next little gadget in the car, right? And it kind of satisfies your passion, but doing it in a technological way. The aspect of IT that I do is really to support your finance organization within a corporate environment,
Okay.
right? So accounting, finance, budgeting, FP&A, those sectors.
Okay.
That is the systems that I work on.
How did you one get into tech, right? And out of all the things you said, like you said, tech is so broad. Why that sector?
Yeah. I've always been interested in technology, right?
Okay.
Even as a young child, it goes all the way back to like middle school. I really remember and recall when in our library we got these new iMacs. I don't know if you remember those, where they were very colorful.
The blue ones?
Bro, it was always like multicolored, right? Like you have blue, you had yellow, this and that. And so we had them at our library, and I was so intrigued, like, what is this? How does it work, right? How does it that like I type on this keyboard and it appears on the screen, and these sorts of things. So that piqued my interest very early. Um, in high school, when I was a junior, no, actually it was senior year, as a matter of fact. In Fairfax County, when you have a certain number of credits already, you can now dive into like more things that were outside of your core, classes, right? So for those that wanted to learn like, hairstyling, or for those that wanted to learn, carpentry and electronics, all these other things, they had a program. So me and my best friend, we actually got into computer networking at that time.
Okay.
So half of the day we would spend in our high school at Robinson, and
Okay.
then later on we would actually drive to Chantilly High School to take computer networking classes, right? And it would be all the schools in the vicinity, right? So those are in Chantilly would come, those that are Lake Braddock will come,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And I really remember my teacher, Dr. Han, um, really just like diving us into more technology, more things about it. At that time, we were learning more about networks, right? Networking and
Okay.
things like that.
Okay.
Because that's when Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer was like the hottest thing, right? So that was the field he was, really teaching us. So with that, I wanted to go to school and do computer engineering, right? When I got to college, though, my college didn't have computer engineering,
Okay.
which is the physical components, right? They have computer science, which is the software and all of that. So that's where, I really started my, career into tech or whatever. Went to school for it, 4 years computer science, and then, came out. The way I got into kind of the accounting and finance route is when I got my first job out of college. First job, you kind of go help desk kind of thing, right? So I got a job here in Fairfax where we were on help desk, but supporting their accounting platform. So, when new users come on, your password, back in those days, they would actually call you on the phone,
Yeah.
and before tickets and things like that. So they will call and, we will facilitate their new access, their roles, things like that, resetting passwords. So the manager knew that, my background was more than just sitting on the help desk and gave me a chance to be a developer on Oracle's PeopleSoft application, right? So we were pretty much writing code that would modify like things like their expense management, right? Accounts payable, invoicing, and things like that. And that's how like I, learned more about corporate finance, right? So I recall that he and I would meet in his office with a whiteboard, literally going through like, okay, this is what it means for a corporation to set a budget. When you set it, it moves here, right? When you want to order things, right? You send out a purchase order, you receive it, and literally mapped out the entirety of what it means to have a corporate back office, right? So that's how I got into it.
You mentioned Oracle. So was your first job working for Oracle, or were you like a contractor? Like what
No,
was the company? Like what?
So the company itself is Mantech, right?
Okay.
Which is based here. But they were using Oracle's platform for their corporate accounting.
Gotcha. I applied to Mantech and I never got a.
Oh yeah, you should have hollered at me.
I should have.
You know what I'm saying? Give me the plug.
Is it too late?
Yeah, nah.
I love my job. If y'all are watching this, but yeah. Okay. Cool. I like that, man. What is a typical day? Like, what's like the typical day for you?
It's hard to really have a typical day. Just because things are always up in the air, right? Sometimes what I envision on doing, what I set to do doesn't really materialize, right? So right now I am a manager for our accounting, systems, our accounting platforms, right? So I have a team who help to facilitate some of the requests from users. We get tickets that will come in, so basically facilitating those. We have different projects that we have resources assigned to those projects. So following up on where we are, to make sure that we meet certain deadlines for the different projects that we're doing, and things like that. So typical day can go anywhere from, having meetings in the morning for stand-ups to, answering emails from the CFO because we have an audit coming through, and we need to be able to get data dumps and things like that to the audit team to, all of a sudden, Oracle says that they have a system issue and it's affecting all of North America region, right? And systems are down, right? How do we? So those are the things we battle with on a day-to-day basis.
What language are you coding? What kind of problems are you solving?
So Oracle's platform that we use has its own proprietary language, right? It's similar to JavaScript, but it's more of a JavaScript that is also backend, right? So it has a lot of data components to it, right? The problems that we're solving is Oracle will give you out of the box. Here is how you use our platform, let's say for, facilitating vendor invoices, right? So a company goes and buys new furniture or new whatever, right? Or has a contract with another company. The company invoices you. How do you enter that invoice into the Oracle system, right? And then turn that back around and issue payment out to them, right? So we then would say, or accounting would say, hey, in addition to all of that, we want to have approval workflows built in. So anything over $20,000 needs to go to Yamiche for approval.
Okay.
But his approval caps out at 20. Anything above that needs to go to the next person for approval, right? So how do you then customize the system to be able to meet the specific needs that are relevant just to our company? That might not be relevant to another company down the street, right? But to us, so we have to tailor the system to be able to meet that, right? So that is the type of thing that we work on. So the coding is called Sweet Code or Sweet Script.
Okay.
And like I said, it's more Java based, but it's also a lot of HTML manipulation, especially for the templates of documentation printouts, right, in PDF form. It's also a lot of database because you need to pull certain data and that sort of thing, aggregate. There's a lot of report writing as well. So yeah, those are the type of codes I work on.
So AI has been like booming now, right? And so has AI influence, or do you use AI anyway in your job? And specifically with it being a proprietary like system, can AI help you? Do you use that at all?
That's a good question. So with with AI in general, I feel like a lot of companies are incorporating that into their system some way somehow. So NetSuite, Oracle has incorporated a certain level of AI into it for things like helping to scan that invoice that comes in so that a person doesn't have to type all those details, right? What is the date? What is the company name? What do we order? So things like that, right? That the machine learning is learning these things over time. As far as my work is specifically, concerned, it Oracle hasn't really made anything AI that would help in me, you know, solving a problem. I would have to go to outside, AI platforms, right? The AI that will facilitate for my type of work, there's the general chat GPT, but I also use Anthropic's AI model called Claude. And that one more so than ChatGPT, just because I feel like ChatGPT is too general.
Yeah.
So I would facilitate the use of that for things that I don't know how to solve for, right? So recently I was thinking of, well, there was a post question of how do you how do you add approvals to manually generated customer checks or vendor checks, right? In our system, that's not native in there, right? So I use that to get an outline of, oh, okay, well, I can probably do this, add a custom field here, add a custom record here, and then facilitate a general idea of what the answer should be.
Yeah.
Then I'll go test that in our sandbox, right? So that's how I use ChatGPT or any kind of AI model.
Okay. So would you say you've been in tech since '07?
First job was in '06.
Oh six. So '06 to 2024,
Yeah.
and with the mention of AI, like how have you seen tech evolve?
Mm.
Right. One, did you think that it would be where it is now? Like now we have AI and everything, right? And how have you seen tech just evolve from your first job to now?
Um, that's a good question. I think that although there has been lots of advancements, right, especially in the UI of it, how things look, the web presentation of a lot of things from just a regular site, even the advancement of like, just a regular site like a Facebook, right, how it initially was versus now, that type of thing. But in general, or at least for my type of work, it has gone through different transitions, right? We used to have this term called machine learning, right? That was kind of the thing of that era, right? In the 2000s, where everything was machine learning, machine learning, machine learning, right? And then it moved into big data, right? Big data. Let's feed it as much as possible or whatever to aggregate. How do we take large sums of numbers and scale it down and get something meaningful out of it? And then it transformed itself now into AI. So I feel like it's always been there in the back of everything that we were doing. We just didn't call it as such as AI. We also didn't have a clean interface of asking it its own questions and having a way of answering, right? We had to come up with the model, right? As far as machine learning was concerned, as far as big data was concerned, we had to give it its own model. So it was each company had their own little version of AI. You know what I mean? How is its use now? Compared to everything else, I think the use of it is here to enhance our work. Right? A lot of people are afraid that it's going to take over and things like that. I don't see it that way. Right? You still are going to need for people to be able to intelligently teach it what to do, right? So I think we have to embrace it and figure out how we can do that portion instead of just being like, oh my God, it's taking our jobs and things like that.
Yeah, I think you hit a good point there. That was going to be my next question. Like, what do you think that AI will take over, our jobs? And from what you said, probably not, right? And I always say this: no company will ever give AI their keys to money, their money, like, and say, hey, just AI, just take it. There'll always be some kind of like a backdoor, like a safe, like a plan B. And I feel like the plan B is humans. You know what I mean? And how do we? Who's gonna update AI? Who's going to program AI? Right? I feel like the people who are scared that AI will take over our jobs are probably the people who are not willing to continue learning. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that? Because I feel like
Well,
if you're continue learning, because tech is not the same it was back then. Even with web development, I talk about time like you can't just learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript anymore. You have to learn a framework,
mhm,
React. You have to learn something like keep on growing, right?
yes.
So do you think that the people who are scared are legit just scared for their livelihoods, or are they not want to advance?
Well, anything new, anything different, people normally tend to be scared of,
Okay.
right? When the internet came out, I think some people were scared of that, right? Things like social media, some people were scared, and oh my God, I don't want my life out there, blah, 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 blah. I don't want my data. They're going to steal my data, you know. Um, just anything that's new, right? I think is the same paradigm that we're facing now with AI, right? And to your point, those who adapt early get the most benefit from it, right? That's with anything. When the internet first came up, those who took advantage of it and in the dot-com bubble, they made millions, and the rest of us are just the consumers, right? With YouTube or whatever, those who were first early adopters and were first to put their channels out there, have the biggest following now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And those of us who are skeptical are now just the consumers. I think it's the same thing with this new wave with AI, right? To your point, if we learn to embrace it, if we learn to learn from it, if we learn to actually grow in our thinking and in our ability to use it, we will very much benefit from it, right? But a lot of people are scared of it. I don't know why. It's just a paradigm, shift that has to happen in their minds, right? Um, I don't think that there is anything wrong with giving AI keys to the kingdom. I have a different maybe thinking than that. I think there are certain sectors that will thrive if you just let AI just work and do its own thing.
You mean like give them access fully without humans having a say, if that's even possible?
I mean, there are certain sectors that will be most beneficial.
Okay.
Are there going to be mistakes? Yes. Do humans make mistakes? Yes. You know what I mean? But I think the way to try to limit what it can do just because we're scared of a mistake is going to take it that much longer for us to be able to have it fully integrated into our lives, right? That's just my opinion of it. It's here to stay. People shouldn't be scared of it. We should just figure out how to use it.
I like that perspective. I feel like I haven't heard that perspective before. So I appreciate that. With that being said, what is like the biggest lesson that you've learned from tech, just the evolution of tech?
Um, the biggest lesson to me, I think, is what we were just talking about: not being an early adopter, being a critic,
Yeah.
right? I think careers, even mine, could have advanced much more had I been more interested in what's new, right? To your point, which aspects of AI, which aspects of security, is it cyber, is it crypto, is it whatever? If we are hungry enough to learn more information about it, right, then that would advance it, our knowledge, our use of it that much more, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big lesson to me, and I'm struggling to, just like anybody else, right? You got to deal with your normal life as well as learning something new. But there has to be a balance in order to evolve, in order to continue, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Now you just spoke about security, and I think security is a hot topic. I feel like security has always been a hot topic, right? And how do you secure your data? How do you secure your code? All that, right? What's your thoughts on individuals who are not specifically like a security analyst, or they don't work in the SOC, right? What is your thoughts on individuals having some kind of level of like security training?
Um, I think it is incumbent on everybody to learn that, whether you're in tech or not.
Okay.
Right? At least be knowledgeable of it, right? Have some simple knowledge of what internet security is. Um, when it was the election season, you get hundreds of texts, right? All these spams. And you probably, just brush over it, delete, report, junk or whatever. But I bet you there are individuals who click on those things and
Yeah.
really think it's, their candidate calling or texting and things like that.
Yeah.
Right? I think the awareness is not there for a lot of people. They can easily be swayed. We see things all the time of, catfishing or these romance schemes that somebody wipes out your account, and things like that. The minimal thing that anybody can do is just at least to be aware that there is a threat out there and to be able to safeguard themselves. Right now, could this be an area where we develop some kind of an AI to be the front for all these sorts of things, right? So that the average person doesn't even have to think about it. It's built into their use of the internet or their use of their phones and things like that, right? So here's another example where the average person can benefit from artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and I think AI is not AI. I think security is so important, not just for tech professionals, but for just like everyday people, like your employees, like the HR person. You know what I mean? I used to do, as you know, I was before I got into coding, I was going the cybersecurity route, like
Yes.
the SOC route, right? And so I had like a internship of where we did like pen testing. So if you guys don't know what pen testing is, it's penetration testing, where a company will hire you to um, seek any kind of like vulnerabilities in their system or in their network. And once you find that, you patch it for them. They pay you for that, right? And I remember we had a call. This was big guy, like CEOs of a law firm, and he had got hacked. One of his HR ladies clicked the phishing email, and money gone. And I was probably like what, I don't know, in my early 20s at the time, and I was shadowing the guy doing the pen testing,
Yeah.
and come and see like a CEO just break down crying.
Yeah. It's real.
And I'm in the meetings, there's a lot of us, and I'm like, what is going on right now? And at that time, I was still learning, and I didn't, yes, I knew you lost money, but I couldn't even fathom how much money you would lose as a CEO
Right.
to like break down in front of us, and of course, the person got fired, the HR person got fired, but to your point, it's if you can just have some kind of basic level, like, yo, when you walk into your house, just lock the door, And so coming into like the corporate America, when you see a particular email, look at the email, like hover over it first to see, is it actually from a legit source, And a lot of times, let's say that you're my coworker and I have a cubicle right next to you, right? I'll see, Micky just emailed me. I'll just click on it, right? But how much work does it take for me to be like, hey, Micky, you send me an email? And chances are maybe you did it, and I would have saved my CEO, a chance of a breach, So I feel like, to your point, just people having some kind of knowledge of security, I feel like it always helps.
It does, yeah. But I think one thing people do is they're very careful for work, but not in their personal life.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? So they go to that Gmail or, whatever they use.
Yeah.
I don't know what else other people use.
Yeah.
And they're so quick to, this coupon from that company or whatever, right? And we'll easily click on it. But had it been a work one, they would have been a little bit more careful, right? We need to get out of that thinking.
Yeah. Now, have you have you ever been hacked? Because I know I have. Like, have you ever clicked on a phishing email? Have you ever been hacked?
Well,
have you almost been got?
Maybe almost been got, but not necessarily. That's why I'm like kind of, a little bit like thrown back. Like, you actually got hacked? Yes, okay. I've clicked on a phishing link before, whether it was at work. Matter of fact, I did one accidentally at work. Come to find out, it was the IT team actually, like, you know what I'm saying, putting a test out there to see.
I like that from the IT team.
Oh, they always do that. Yeah. And you know what happens? Whoever accidentally clicked on it, you have to go back and do the security training.
Oh,
because clearly you're not paying attention.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that happened. But I mean, even in my personal life, yes, I've clicked on a few.
Yeah.
But not then I'll realize like, oh, no, that wasn't
Yeah.
right? But never enough to where I'm like giving my information or anything like that to actually be hacked.
Yeah. So I will be the one to do that, and I have. This was years ago. Like this was before I got to tech, and I was using my girlfriend's computer at the time. Now my wife, her computer, her Mac, and I had like a blue screen that came up. I forgot what I was doing. Probably watching a show. I don't know.
Yeah.
And a blue screen came up, and it said, "Call this number." To release whatever, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is my girlfriend's computer. I broke it, and I was just panicking.
Yeah.
And I actually called that number.
Oh Lord.
And they had the welcome to the whole professional. It was professional.
Yeah, I'm saying.
And it gets better. Wait, bro, it gets better. I've never told you the story.
No. Did you take out your wallet?
Listen, it gets interesting, bro. So they're like, so I call the number, and they're going through. They check all the checks, all the boxes.
Sound very legit.
Very legit. But they always, if you pay close attention, there's always something that gives it away.
Mm-hmm.
What I should have noticed was it was an Indian guy who picked up.
Okay.
Shout out all y'all Indians. I know not every Indian is a scammer. All that stuff. Yeah,
right.
That's there, right? But in this case, it was an Indian guy, and there was like a lot of chatter in the background. And now that I'm thinking about it, it was probably like a house full of hackers trying to get people, And he was like, "Yeah, I paid, I don't know, $50, so we can unlock it, whatever." And at that time, I was broke. I wasn't working, and I was like, "I don't have $50." So I think I gave them my card number. And they tried to pull the money, but there's nothing in there. And I was like, oh, wait a second. Let me transfer money into... I was like, wait a second. Let me transfer money into the account. So let me call you back. So I cut off. I was like, hey, call me back in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they I think I called my spiritual father at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, can
I get some money?
Can I get some money? I've been hacked. They're going to come back in 5 minutes. And he was like, that's a scam. And I was like, no,
they got my data.
And he was like, it's a scam.
Yeah.
And they called me back, and I was still a bit like, okay, is it scams or not? And they called me back, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I think I gave some kind of, BS excuse as to like why, whatever. And I feel like the guy was so hopeful that he's about to scam me. Yeah. And he was right there. That he saw me pull out, and he got so pissed and he cussed me out. He was like, man, I would have got you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh.
So you are
a scam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Moral of the story, do not get scammed. Look through everything, and yeah.
Don't be like this guy.
Don't be like me. All right, so let's get to some juicy topics, man. Remote work. What's one, are you remote? What's your thoughts on remote work? I know that, I think it was like 2021, 2022. A lot of people were doing remote work, and now people are being asked to come back into the office. Like, what's your thoughts on remote work in general? And are you remote?
Yes, I am working remote.
Okay.
I've been remote before remote was a thing.
Bro, you've been doing this for a minute.
No, stop. I was working remote in 2019, so before the pandemic. Right. Because, we live here in Virginia, but my company was based in New York.
Okay.
So every quarter or so, I'd have to go up there for, different meetings and initiatives and things like that. But my idea of remote work is it is what it is now. Right. I think in the past, especially for us as IT, I recall when we switched from desktops at work to laptops. And we were like, yes, we can take this home, Yeah,
it's portable.
Right. And I remember back then when we used to do like system maintenance, we would like shut the thing down and work all the way through the weekend. And that was the only time they would allow us to work from home is because it's the weekend and we would actually just log in from home. You have to get on the VPN and all these other things or whatever, right? So companies were very skeptical of letting people work from home because they felt like they weren't productive. But I think a lot of companies have learned that that's not the case anymore, and that's behind us, right? So I like the aspect of working remote. It frees me up from the hours of commute. I think to me that's the best thing to get back, right? I've had different jobs all over the Virginia DC area, right? Some where I would commute on trains, right, into DC, somewhere I would actually drive way to the other side. We're talking to Ashburn or, to Reston or to Tyson's Corner, and you sitting an hour and a half just in traffic, right? So getting that time back, I think, is very valuable to me. So I would probably steer away from a company that's trying to bring me back into office just because
Really?
I've done it for so long, right? It's 5 years. Like, what do you have in the office that's going to motivate me? Free coffee?
I hope y'all enjoying this conversation, but quick announcement, post edits, I realized that my microphone went out, and so 3 to 5 minutes towards the end of this conversation is a bit hard to hear me, but I have added some captions and some subtitles so you guys can at least read what I'm saying. If you guys are listening on an audio platform where you can't see me, I'm so sorry, I apologize, you will not be able to see the captions, but we will make sure that this does not happen next episode. So let's get back to the conversation.
So no amount of money will get you like, yo, make comes
Well, I didn't say that. I said the snacks.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
No, I think to me, if the most perfect dream job or something like that, and obviously you pay me up the wazoo, I'll make exceptions or whatever. But for just your average position that I currently occupy, no.
Do you think that remote work is here to stay?
No, I think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. There are companies now that don't even have offices anymore, right? They've gone completely remote. They are asynchronous. So they don't even have like your regular meetings and cadence and things like that. You just work at whatever time that is feasible for you, and you just deliver on your projects at the time that, what I'm saying, the deadline is, right? So the remote is here to stay. Now, some companies can't afford to be completely remote. I get it, right?
Okay.
And so there is going to be some hybrid. There is going to be certain things, certain industries, certain sales and things like that where it has to be more in person. I get that. But for those that can, yes, remote is here to stay. This is the other paradigm of working remote is people tend to be on the keyboard more because they're remote. As soon as they wake up, let me go check this. As soon as this, let me go check that. And if you tally up the entire time of their day, and then for us that code late at night, right?
Yep.
So sometimes you actually are working longer. So is the balance really there? Sometimes it's not, and you have to be able to calculate that yourself to be like, oh, okay, I am off at this hour, right? Like no more being online and that sort of thing, right? And I think that helps to keep that balance. Otherwise, being remote can suck you into longer days of being on a computer.
I think I work a lot more now than I ever did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because when you're let's be real, when you're in office, the first hour is,
bro,
hey, how was your night?
Bro,
how was the game? It's
bro,
chit chat, right? And then you have midday where it's like you go out for lunch.
Bro, we used to go as a whole, like literally the entire financial systems team would all go out to lunch. Yeah. Oh, let's try Thai today. Let's try Indian today or whatever, right? And we would spend 2 hours of an 8-hour shift. What productivity do we come back to?
So you have, when you first get in office, about an hour to just settle in.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You have midday, about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
2 hours.
Just, and then you have, once 4 o'clock hits, it's like, okay, let me just.
Yep. Oh, this person came early, so they have to leave early. So we can't have that meeting, at 4 p.m. or whatever, right? So there's no productivity the last end of the day.
Outside of like tech, what do you do for fun? Because I feel like a lot of people see people who are in tech and it's like, oh, we just sit in our grandma's basement all day and just coding all day and we have no life. And, but like outside of tech, outside of being a manager, outside of high level technical stuff, like what do you like to do for fun? Just so people can know that like you're a human being, like you're approachable.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. You can't have this idea of. What note was that? But
somebody can't tell you what note.
Yes. But to me, I enjoy life just like anybody else, right? I think, like I said before, I'm a family man. I enjoy spending time with my kids, right? Helping them with their homework or helping them, with things that they like to do. Just the other day, I was downstairs, playing basketball with one of my boys, right? Just because at that moment he wanted daddy to play with him. I'm also a husband. I love taking my wife out on dates. We go to all the restaurants and enjoy time that way as well, right? But I think outside of that, just a human, just like everybody else. I enjoy my Sunday night footballs. I love music, right? So all things music, listening, playing, dancing. If you came in this house and you would see how all of us just put on a song and we are just going at it, right? That's the human aspect of everybody, and that's what we love to do.
A lot of people don't know, but I met Micky through music.
Yes.
Not even coding or technology. I met you through music. Yeah. And so now Micky has been somebody who I've looked up to. You've been a big brother. So I just want to appreciate you, man, for just being a friend outside of this podcast here, and then two, appreciate you for your time, man.
It's a pleasure for me, man. Thank you for having me on, especially being the first of your podcast.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, just as you were saying as well, I also have enjoyed you being in my life. The little brother that, you know what I'm saying, I didn't think I needed, and then you came along. I do remember those days when we first met through music. We used to have so much fun, and it's good to see that, years down the line, we're able to do life together as well. It's been great. It's been great. Thank you.
Dope, man. Yeah. You, sir.
Yes, sir.